How you doing today, sir? My name is Mizonic. We have a show called the African Kings of Hip Hop, and we are going to be doing interviews. And you are actually the first interview that we're doing. So we would like for you to please tell the viewing audience a little bit about you, and then we'll jump right into the questions.
Well, I'm Clifford Murray, and I am the founder of Empowerment for Tomorrow. I've developed a platform that looks to reach our black males only from the ages of 14 to 19. One of the caveats in my platform is that their biological father or a male stakeholder is required to attend. We know we've got some single mothers in our community who are caregivers of young men, but if they've got an older brother, an uncle, or some type of male stakeholder, they're required to attend the Empowerment for Tomorrow platform as well.
That's good. So, Empowerment for Tomorrow is your organization. Where is it based out of?
We're based pretty much out of the Charlotte, North Carolina area. We're looking to, of course, per my website, Empowerment for Tomorrow, empft.org. You can go there, but we're looking to have a national mindset as well. But we are headquartered out of the Charlotte, North Carolina area.
That's great. That's great. So the first question we want to ask you is, what do you think about empowerment in the black church in the U.S.?
Once upon a time in this country, black empowerment and the black church were synonymous. My goodness, man, 30 to 40, that's been over 30 to 40 years now. With the advent of these mega churches and so forth, their mindset is to run the church like a business. They're teaching prosperity out of control with a lot of other shenanigans that go on in the black church. Essentially, they don't yield any type of teaching or inspiration that would elevate the black community anymore like they used to. They're about as far as the East is from the West now, as far as what the black church means to the black community at large.
So, I mean, some churches or pastors might disagree with you on that. Do you think the black church should be more involved in community building as far as even doing things like daycares and group homes? Should they get involved with something like that, or
There are a few black churches uh, who establish things like that. Community outreach. One of the churches I used to be a member of established a home for battered women and so forth. But I'm talking about the black church overall at large in this country.
right?
Most of it, from what I've seen, a lot of scandals, a lot of misinterpretation of the Word of God itself, quite frankly. There's no real dialogue or inspiration to say, what can we do to elevate the black community as a whole? Uh, by and large, we have a large concentration of black people who are at the feet of black leadership every Sunday. A lot of black men, a lot of black women, a lot of black teenagers, a lot of young people. And there's not, from what I've seen, and there's even been some documentaries done on these things, the black church no longer seems to inspire or educate the black community at large on what's going on in society overall. It's just give us the money, we're going to do this and do that, but no real organization or plan of scope, if you will,
Right.
to handle political, educational, financial aspects that have plagued the black community for decades.
The last question about the church, it might be a daunting task for just one church to do a lot. Would it be easier for black churches to get together I mean, 5 churches, 10, and decide to do something for the community in that way, as opposed to one church taking on a huge responsibility.
Well, I think overall it would have to be a unified effort. With my background, my pedigree being a preacher's grandson and so forth, I can tell you firsthand, most of these churches are under a unified type of organization. The Southern Baptist Church or this particular religion belongs to a certain group, and they're powerful groups. So if they could collectively come together, these churches, by and large, there could be 20 to 30 or 40 churches under one banner of an organization. But where is the leadership? The leadership would have to come together, and then that would have to go down to the churches themselves. It would take more than one church. Now, if it's that one church that can inspire the other ones, fine. But by and large, it would, with all of the churches in these organizations, they would need to come together and see the plight of the community as a whole to try to do something to correct the issues.
That's a good answer. So, the next thing on the list is what are the keys to elevating the black community overall?
I would have to say with our youth, and again, I'm doing my little part of trying to educate and target our black males. Our black males as a whole, I believe the black community can go no further than our black males. To the degree that we thrive versus just survive. We've had just if we can just survive mindset for the longest. We know disproportionately we have a large number of our young men being incarcerated and so forth. There's a push or a movement to actually demasculize, if that's a word, the young black male in our community. So the overall, at its core, if we turn our black men around, like I point out on my website, I think we could get that paradigm shift, and the rest of the community would follow.
Yeah, well, I want to add something to that. Well, as far as the elevating the community, the black community right now, I understand what you're saying with the youth. That's more for the future. But right this second, like, if things were to start shifting right now, what could be a few steps that people could take in the different states to elevate the black community?
Big question, broad question. Overall, we'd have to have a sense of unity and being educated and getting the information we need. As you know, we don't control any narratives. And unfortunately, shows like the Tom Joyner and Steve Harvey Morning Show, they reach an overwhelming number of people in the black community. But when the rubber meets the road, real serious dialogue is not, I haven't seen it on those shows. Media, in our print media, and again, we've talked a little bit about the black church and what that means to our community. So we have political leaders, spiritual leaders, we have leaders in just about every facet of society where we unfortunately are near the bottom of education, financial, social issues. It would take a meeting of the minds, I think, for us to be on one accord. We'd have to have a cohesive. We'd have to move as a cohesive unit like other ethnic groups. That's something we don't seem to do in our black community. We have pockets of leadership organizations, and within themselves, they are not even on the the same track toward issues affecting the community.
That's a good answer. So we have two more questions for you. What do you think about black media and I guess, their help towards elevating the community, their help towards elevating the black community at large?
Kind of like the black church years ago, where again our outlets within the church, within our black newspapers, within black TV organizations, kind of out of the civil rights movement and so forth, the community was more galvanized. There was a sense of, there was a high degree of unity than it is now. Now our black media, quite frankly, it's not even owned by blacks. So when the rubber meets the road on some real issues, if the narrative is being controlled by the dominant society, they have every right to basically stop any type of communication that they would deem would be a threat to them. So our media today, because we don't control the narrative, and our media is really concerned about the revenue and advertising streams and so forth, they have become, as much as I hate to say it, they've become a liability over the last several years versus an asset.
So I want to ask you a second part to that question. You look at radio stations, especially like hip hop stations. A lot of those stations are actually ran by black people. So are you trying to say that the people who actually own the stations are not black? So that's why maybe we don't get certain types of information, we don't get certain types of music. I was just using radio as an example,
but by and large, I think you could even cite TV shows like BET. I think most of us know the history where Bob Johnson at once owned BET, sold it. Over my 20 or so years of viewership on that program, I've seen programs being dismissed, like Ed Gordon's program, Tabby Smiley, has been removed, where some real in-your-face serious issues were conducted on there. Now, those things are not incorporated in the programming I see. It seems to be just a lot of videos and a lot of reality-based type things. So even with television as well as radio, our young people are affected greatly by what they see and what they hear. And if they're not hearing and seeing anything positive, really, with any degree of clarity and critical thinking behind it, those TV shows, again, are not, they're becoming more of a liability than an asset.